Despite your trial, never cease to shine. Your bravery and all things like it. Sophie, little Sophie. So small, so beautiful, and oh, so quiet.
Mom Catherine Barnett just elated with the welcome and indicated the place of choice was all Sophie's.
Yeah, it's overwhelming, actually. I bawled my eyes when I found out to begin with, and I'm going to well up again today. But I'm just so happy. I'm so thrilled. I'm over the moon, and I can't believe the welcome that we're getting. So it's amazing. She doesn't surprise me in those ways because she's a very thoughtful child, and she puts a lot of effort and thinking into what she wants to do. So I know for sure Disney was not something that she wanted to do. She was given the option of going to mega all-inclusive resorts, and she said that's not for me. And she wanted a place this place. She wanted to experience nature. She wanted to experience what she described as the most beautiful waters in the world. She wants to snorkel. She wants to meet the animals and the people, of course.
Dad, Mark, calling it bonding time.
It's a nice family time together. Sophie living her dream here in Exuma, and glad we were a part of it. Just honestly, just spending time together as a family. Life is busy and whatnot, and to spend that time together here in this environment is just amazing, I think. And I think Sophie chose very, very well.
Sophie is currently very healthy and has had the benefit of new developments in treatments. And because of this, the family can now consider destinations that previously might not have been possible, and the Bahamas was the first choice. Amazing. For the Bahamas Tonight, I'm Charles Fisher.
Well, Sophie, we certainly wish you have a spectacular time in the Exumas. And just before we leave tonight, we want to wish a special happy birthday to cameraman Daniel Michel. And that does it for the Bahamas Tonight. Thank you for continuing to make ZNS your first choice for news and information. Only the sun covers the Bahamas better than ZNS. From all of us here at ZNS, thank you for watching and good night.
You're watching the ZNS Network, the People's Station.
Welcome to Harbourside Chat with the Governor. I'm Governor Joan Roll of the Central Bank of the Bahamas, and we are convening these discussions as part of the 50th anniversary observances of the Central Bank of the Bahamas. This is our second in the series of discussion that we'll be having. And this time around, we're also very fortunate to be hosting the Inter-Regional Central Bank Games and having present with us governors from our regional central bank. Today, we are very happy to have Governor Gobind Ganga from the Central Bank of Guyana, Governor Kareem Michael from the Central Bank of Belize, and Governor Kevin Greenwich from the Central Bank of Barbados. Governors, welcome to the Bahamas, and thank you for agreeing to be on Harbourside Chat.
Thank you for having us. Thanks for hosting us. Yeah.
So we want to talk today on just a few topics, not too many. A little bit about, your careers and background getting to this point, how we look at central banking in the region, and how we're tackling issues that are new around climate change and related issues. I'll have some lighthearted conversation towards the end about the games. So we'll start with you, Governor Ganga. You've been in central banking now for over 30 years. And as you reflect on your time in central banking and your tenure as governor, Well, what are some of the key lessons and takeaways from your experiences to help me?
Oh, Governor, you have quite a lot. But let me start off first. As you know, central banking started off with our mandate or objective being having price stability, and then that evolved into financial stability. But now we have seen that our mandate has expanded significantly over time. For example, we are now looking at not just price stability and financial stability. So we're looking at climate change, we are looking at gender equality, we are looking at technologies that we're supposed to be adopting, we are looking at green financing, we are looking at other social environmental goals. These are all mandates that we really don't have total control over. And therefore, it is very important how we can have more effective decision making with these external patches. In this regard, the lessons that we have taught is that you must have a good structure in place to ensure that there is good governance. Good governance, as you know, requires transparency and accountability. And those are things that will make your policy more effective. Your policy effectiveness will also come from coordination. Coordination from the perspective of how well is your monetary, your fiscal, and your exchange rate policy are coordinated. If they're not properly coordinated, you are not going to be able to achieve your basic or your primary objective, which will be price stability. But the bottom line is that you all want welfare improvements for our people. And the welfare improvement for our people, we know that the central bank plays an integral part in all of this expanded goals, where we might say the mandates that are given to us. And therefore, it is important for us to ensure that we take on this added responsibility, that we have good governance in place. There are other things that we have learned over time, in that you have to be ahead of the game. For example, we don't have control over financial innovation from the perspective of the adoption of the kind of technology that is now evolving. So we have to be above the game. We have to be better in terms of how we are able to control and how we are able to regulate the kind of technologies that we are supposed to be adopting to make things better, to make the financial system better, to reduce costs, to ensure that there is less risk, and to ensure that the people of the government are part and parcel. So there has to be what we are saying is financial inclusion. And as you know, financial inclusion is not only important for poverty alleviation, but to make people's lives better, but it also extends beyond that to regional and to the global financial system and the global welfare of people. So there are a number of things that have evolved over time that we have to be cognizant of. And those are some of the lessons that, I would just like to extend from our experience that you need to look forward.
Thank you. I was supposed to mention that you also been in your role as governor for quite some time, so you have the perspective that both other parts of central banking and then the leadership role of governor. The contrast with Governor Burridge and Governor Michael is that they're relatively early into their tenure, and so I suppose that you come in with a strategic plan or some posture. I wanted to ask you first, Governor Greenwich, when you reflect on your time in your role, recent time in your role, is it too early to speak about accomplishments?
Not at all, John. Not at all. And first of all, let me just make it clear. I've been in central banking since 1985. I was here reflecting earlier with Governor Golding that we both had more here at that point in time. Governor Golding was my senior back then. But I know I spent most of my life in central banking. But you're correct. Governor is a very early game for me. I just celebrated my 1-year anniversary recently, and it's reflecting that you have a radio and more advertising. But I believe I've made significant accomplishments. So when I first came in, the eighth governor of the Central Bank of Bahamas, my predecessors were the fine institution. So I said to myself, what can I do? This is a fine institution, need excellence. So my mandate and my vision was to internalize excellence in everything we do, in order to serve our publics, to serve as an advisor to the government, to educate the public, to be the regulatory banking system, the excellence. And then I brought that down to areas. I need internal excellence, internalize the excellence in all these areas. And so, in terms of accomplishment, a lot of my focus initially have been on with people, style for I set one goal. At the end of my time, I would do a survey, happiness survey. One other question is, are you happier? Why that was probably the things that as living saying you have to gender equality issues, mobility issues, and things like that. And why I say this because we are supposed to be effective in financial markets as regulators, to be effective. There are people behind this doing the work. These institutions are life institutions. And so at my end of my tenure, 80% of persons were much happier than they were people. So I said, and I tried to see what I would accomplish with that career. And that's one of so I felt good about that. 20% was like, they're okay, they weren't angry, I didn't go to. So I needed to give it that. And so taking care of people who didn't went on the wall, so any system and that cheater. And then I started to tackle some of the tough issues which we all face in the region, which is we're a very small banking system. Just systems, we don't have any economies of scale among these financial systems. And as such, we find that, in my view, we seem to have banks have a heavy reliance on fees. Whether or not, for every reason, we get fees all kind of direction. So I started to tackle the issue head on, and now many banks are saying we engage in conversation and just everybody comes to Jeffrey is talking and try to design a framework, a structure where the banks can operate. And I'm not want to say it, don't do this, don't do that. I'm going to say this is the playing field, right? And I'm interested, for example, in digital transformation. So let's keep down with the fees saying that I'm interested in small business, and so how can we farm that? So that's made quite a number of thoughts this case of that, and that's in my view significant accomplishment. The other accomplishment I find is terms of what we do is central banks, we need to educate our people. And policies when effective after the populists understand and are able to make proper economic decisions. And so I started to think, my property TV personality. So how can I make it even more interesting? So I came up with this short song, which 3-minute clips in terms of how we educate. We just launched, for example, a digital program using all the digital technology to educate person about financial literacy, how to budget, how to invest, and different things like that. And I started something we call the Explainer series, where we do scenarios and teach persons about the not very highly distributed population, educate people usual. In my country, for example, we don't pay water any corner, fast and intern. First, that's the engagement in terms of GDP, economy, what's going on. This traffic and this opening of social media and content allow persons to be in the know. But you have to make sure they're in the know in a very informed way. So this based on what I've been doing is using technology to put through small clips of videos, engaging two person talking about what is inflation, what does it really mean? And my son over there who's took this on his phone, he's a young generation. He's almost, we know article, right? But I think the different people download too many video. Really, he have knowledge. So this is trying to revamp how we reach the people who we serve to educate. So part of our goal is to provide not only economic, financial analysis, but to ensure populations. So it's been a good ride. I think I have an amazing 1 year so far. And good.
Well, I certainly want to congratulate Bayless on the Explainer series. I do pay attention to those when they're put out. We'll return to you Governor Michael, what would you say is your mantra as governor? And tell us whether you have a short list of priorities that you're working towards.
Thank you for your comment. Thank you for the question, Governor. Highland, again, thank you for the gracious host. So it's interesting that so far the comments in the pictures with doctors doesn't video sort of my approach. You keep not to this because for years, a couple of years as governor at the central bank. I just want to mention that I've been at the central bank since 1999. I started my career as a junior economist and eventually worked my way up. What happened before as senior post was two governors being removed from the position in less than 3 months. So that created a bit of instability, particularly from the public and also external parties. So I faced that challenge as well as the onset of COVID. Of course, in Belize's case, it's well documented where our macroeconomic indicators were. So it was really turmoil in which I was first introduced. I think that usually with that, for me, I had to start from strat plan again. And so that's where everything began. When we created that strat plan, what our theme, our motto came out of it was people focused, purpose driven. So listening to Governor Greenwich, focusing operational excellence, human resource excellence. These are major components of that final strat plan, which we issued. And that's one of the things which, like Governor Greenwich, which I took great pride in. And so that motto, that of our strat plan, that tagline, is what I align my mantra with, because that's where I started to spend a lot of time in those operational aspects of the central bank. So in order for me to do that, one of the things which I started off with was the strat plan. I think you suggested that as one of the avenues or means which you could have sort of establish yourself and your tenure as a central bank. And the themes in that strat plan, two of the themes were operational excellence and human resource excellence. So when I listened to my friend, Governor Greenwich, it's the same things which we were focusing on. And that's those are the two things which I took great pride in, because what staff needed to feel was a sense of purpose, ownership in the job which they're asked to do, and I think that was lost quite a bit. On top of that, you had to make sure that the vessel was fit for purpose. And there are a lot of things which we are facing in these times, not just technologies, of course, climate change, and trying to find our purpose within these things. So we have sort of redesigned this vessel to make it more dynamic, more flexible, but also maintaining what the DNA of the central bank. So decision making is very important, and we must have decision making that is well informed and well reasoned. So these are the things which I wanted to address, but in formulating the strat plan, and it was a effort from the board level to management level, as well as staff participated. We locked ourselves in a room for 2 days, and what came out of it, our tagline for that strat plan was people focused, purpose driven. And that really reinvigorated staff, and it narrowed our focus down now to what we then listed as strategic initiatives. So focusing on these two critical elements, components or themes: operational excellence and also human resource excellence gave us the drive then to look at things such as fast payments, which I'm extremely proud of. What the commercial banks failed to do in our system was to actually invest in the automated payments and settlement systems, which is sort of the standard across the world. So that they run the IFT, EFT, and sort of the real-time gross settlements is something that the central banks, the regulators, typically do, which is about it. In Billy's case, we built the entire system, the entire platform. And so now the banks are benefiting from that. But fees are also an issue, which we'll touch on. And I think that this was one of the things one of the strategic initiatives which we are most proud of so far. On top of this, however, is something that is coming this year, which is the issuance of new currency notes. Actually, this is one of the age-old mandates of all central banks, but just to issue a new currency note, moving away from the monarch, I think that does a lot for the trade. And so the Queen and the child, Mother England will be our notes anymore, but our national heroes. This is one of the things which I'm extremely excited and so proud about. On top of that, obviously, if you're having all of this technology coming at you, we have to make sure that the governance framework is right to have this safe, enabling environment. So the National Payment Systems Act, Payment Systems Regulations, were recently issued. And so now we have the framework to allow these technologies to be safely adopted and incorporated and led by the private sector. And of course, I spoke about this project that we launched in 2019, which is a National Financial Improvement Project. A number of statistics which we are proud of. Digital transactions have grown from 17% to 45%. The number of unbanked believers have narrowed from almost half the population to just under 30% now that is still remaining banked. But we're seeing a plateau there. And we think that peak is largely because of some of these things being super friendship to the candidates. So probably the unbanked population, part of the financial system. We believe that obviously financial participation in financial system, financial stability is a public good. So that's what we're working towards so diligently.
Thank you. So before we transition, I wanted to talk just very quickly about what I see as the positive reverse brain drain, meaning that we survey the Caribbean. Most persons in the leadership roles have spent time at the IMF, the World Bank, and the other institutions, including yourselves, Governor Ganger, and Governor Greenwich. Slightly different capacities. But help us to understand what that time helped you with in terms of what you brought back into your present role. Did you bring anything back of use from that experience?
Well, the answer is yes. I hope so. But I think, first of all, within the region, we have to see, I think put the brain drain as being positive, because you get persons going out, they acquire information, state-of-the-art information, etc. They come back, but they have integrated that with their local knowledge of the systems, the cultures, and what will work and what will not work, and how to make something work. And so, in my case, before I went to the International Monetary Fund as the senior economist, I spent 17 years at the Central Bank of Bahamas. I was at the level director of economic analysis before that, so travel through region. So that built into me the local environment, the culture, regional culture. It gives all of us know, but you're a small central bank, we're all small central bank. You are more involved, you have a larger role in the economic landscape than a large central bank or ECCB. not easy. Because, and we've been touched on it too. For example, fiscal or monetary coordination is part. You can do anything you want if monetary side basic banking, and unless you have that coordination, you'll be frustrated. And that's my hope. Whereas the Feds can step back and set authorities set the interest rate and whatever happens, we'll have that. That's all. So when I went to IMF, I brought that with me, this uniqueness of being small, as opposed to persons who have a large, for us, we're microscopic, right? But then we out there to bring, as we go, we learn the state-of-the-art techniques, we understand the monetary from a different perspective, what is needed, efficiency. So coming back home, I bring that in my mind. I know what can work, what cannot work. I see we need to get economic efficiency, but I see that there has to be a strong interplay between the policy framework. In other words, it doesn't matter whether you have a fixed exchange rate or floating exchange rate. What does not really matters. What matters is the framework. Like or you should have on one hand, the second bank might be saying we want fiscal parity, we protect the exchange rate. On the fiscal doing something that we're derail that. And so that coming back with the state, how do I achieve that? Coming back with knowledge of what it means to have risk, what is the latest push in the direction of market policy, what is the latest developments, etc. You have in your head, you see all the questions. In fact, you say efficiency in some areas in operation. So you no longer have a mindset that this is way to do things. You're saying to yourself, well, yes, this is how we did, but we need to go there. We can't get there because I've seen it there, I've seen it international, I've seen it. But you do it in context of what tools you have, what space, what kind of effort you unlock. And so, for example, in my role, I came out as, we first came out about this as advisory demographic. So I was instrumental in the legal role in designing the Davis Economic Recovery and Transformation Program. At that point in time, our economy was really in a bad position after extremely high price get the country to live. The prices of growth, the fiscal position was not sustainable, and including the fact you have a lot of raise. So we had to do an IMF program. I said, taking the IMF program and the IMF came in, usually when it as a economist, the IMF would go to the country. You usually sit down, you design. That's what God you see. But when we didn't have it, it's like, by the time the IMF came, we have really had about this kind of like trying to design. Because being IMF, I was in the strategy and design department, SPR, and I knew exactly how this program should look. So we sat as a team and we designed. So in MFA, we had the work program fathers coming in transformation, on which then they would then extract and build their EFN. And so we won this thing. And it was done because I knew what they were looking for. This is I was in the other camp. I was on the side, and I come back and lose. Right? And so it brings that sort of thing I think is unique. In my case, it was from the economic model's perspective, it's from understanding what international institutions look for, what the agents, what the agencies are looking for, finding it in a way. For example, you were listening to my Honorable Prime Minister speak about that time when I was contributing, when I would work on the work program. She would say many times, there was because we not enough. I say that I was like an interpreter. There's a disconnect ultimately. I never experienced it as the economist at IMF. I would see the IMF thing there, and I see the government here, and they want the same thing. They're speaking different language for the same goal. I know my interpreter, so to speak, because I've been up there, I know what they want, I know what they're already going for. In terms of, you're not far apart, just different language. Different ideas, different way of looking at it. And sometimes the first class solution can't work. I know because they got local knowledge. So I got to go to second or third base. So I like the fact that you said, John, the brain drain can be seen as a positive. In fact, I won't call it a brain drain. I would look at it more brain enhanced. So you let persons grow. To train them, they get international expertise, all this time, systems, and they come back and live for stuff. I think that's the way to look at it.
I think it's also important to recognize that when we create those institutions, you're going there as an expert of the region, and a part of your role is to get them to understand how they should be framing policy at
You're
once.
absolutely correct. So I will tell you when I went there, and like I said, there's a special. You have to, in it to understand smallness, what it means to be small. Like we problems are no smaller. In fact, in many cases, the problems are larger. Take for example, you know, maybe in a national issues at the MFA, you discussing the effects of climate change. The most person in that environment cannot understand the boycott effects. We cannot understand what effects, because what I mean by that is that Dominica, Bahamas, when we get hit by a hurricane catastrophe, it wipes out everything. So, like, why you answer, you can be a train that happen. I'm living in Washington, there's nothing. The skies are white, there's nothing going on. So it doesn't wiped out everything. It is localized, right? We don't know anything about it. Science and so that somewhere is a solution. We don't know everything. They'll wipe out. So Dominica lost 220% in GDP for one hurricane. No other country does that in big. So you bring to the table like this is important. This, when you start to analyze the impact of climate change and the impact of these things, they have to realize honestly, you know this. So then, as an expert, it's more like see that we're quite an expert in the economics of fairness outside. And you bring that to the table. But at the same time, you're upset because you're learning how policies are applied now. So you're learning how policies are designed. You can start that sometimes take in consideration what we do. So in different example, blow me. Yeah. The government has designed the IST, Resilience, Trust, Stability Fund, which provides funding for countries to spread policies for countries to implement climate resilient policies and structures. I think, arguably, from my perspective, which the right way to go is the only game in town right now that will give you, because the issue of climate financing that you need long-term money. Most countries and most investors are giving short-term money, but you replacing our infrastructure is a long-term aspect. We need long-term financing. And the IMF Resilient and Trust Fund gives you 20 years, 10 years risk period. It's a only game in town, so I'm not knocking it. But think about the design. It's based on quota. It's based on quota. So about this quota, 150% of quota is what you can get maximum. That translates to 95 billion US dollars. Yeah. Now, as you come, that was on Zambia thing, that translates to a couple $1 billion. It's 150%, right? Because it's quota. But I would ask anyone, when hurricane hit us, does it ask before it hit you what says you're a quota? So Barbados, can you afford me to hit you because you're a quota? Hey, a catastrophe hasn't even reached that for quota. So maybe you have to look at design it more besides these countries, and maybe think about a vulnerability element to that. Yeah. So now it's about as much more vulnerable. The Bahamas kicked back to one of the Paris Dominicans, and therefore they should not, U.S. citizen entitled to. So I'm saying that's for the improvement, not every is. So that's kind of new makes us modest.
Thank you. So Governor Agenda, there, you had experiences as well, I think at the World Bank, and I know Guyana is a contrast between our other three economies, which are very reliant on tourism. What your perspectives of value that you bring back from that experience abroad to a central banking environment?
Oh, sure. Now, one has to understand what central banking is. Central banking is good coordination between monetary and exchange with policy as well as fiscal policy. But that's not where it ended. The bottom line is that central banking is both an art and a science. And when you have experience with respect to what central banking is, and when you try to marry that with what you get from the international financial institution, these financial institutions are essentially knowledge-based institutions. Knowledge-based means that you have so much more to choose from. Obviously, you have to take the international best practice that is suitable to you, as others would have said and opinions would have said. One size doesn't fit all. And you have to remember that, especially in small developing countries such as ours. We have to ensure that we adopt the appropriate policy where we have to ensure in very precisely that, listen, these are our disadvantages, these are our limitations. And therefore, what goes for a developed country doesn't go for us. And what goes for one developing country doesn't go for us, as you would have indicated. We are one which is more diverse, agri, manufacturing, natural resource based versus a tourism-based institution. So there are different factors that are in the making here that you have to take into consideration. We have to have the most appropriate fiscal and monetary policy. Exchange rate policy, for example, will come with respect to how do you see your exchange rate movement and what you believe will be the flows of capital. So one has to take many things into consideration. Now, the international financial institution experience will allow you to see more on a global basis and also on a more micro-specific basis what you really need in your economy. And here is where I'm saying the marriage between science and art comes into play, and how do you really advance your policy?
Thank you. So, we started to talk a bit already about how our economies interact with the rest of the world. And some of that really came across during COVID, particularly for those of us who are dependent on tourism. And we had the contrast where Barbados was going through the IMF supported program. I believe in the case of Belize, you got a homegrown program. And Governor Michaels, I wanted to know from your perspective, in retrospect, how do you view Belize's experience with the homegrown program?
The new administration, which came into power, I guess, understood the problem. That the central bank's role in there was to support the direction where they wanted to take the economy. Now, you had to right the ship. I spoke earlier about some of these macroeconomic indicators that were out of whack. And one of the things which the country was working on before, but wasn't successful in completing, was the debt for levy protection swap. So the new administration really took that on. And the successful launch of the swap really helped with that correction, which had to be done. There were some other hard choices as well, such as the freezing of increments and wages for the public workforce. There were expenditure cuts in other areas, particularly in capital expenditure. And then simultaneously, what the government tried to do was to let the world know that it's open for business, and pass a series of legislation that would sort of signal that to the world. The Securities Act, for example, was a big one. The amalgamation of the Financial Services Commission along with the companies registering sort of streamline the ease of doing business for a company, that sort of thing. So what the central bank also did was to focus on its capital controls, this exchange rate administration framework. And we had to take a long, hard look at that to rid ourselves of that whole model. Looking at the invisible about looking at your flows. Now, if you have a good view of what your flows are, inflows and outflows on a monthly basis, some of this liberalization mixed with some modernization, some incorporation of technology can really signal to the international community that you are open for business, that FDIs are welcome, and repatriation of dividends and profits, which any investor cares about, will be done smoothly and efficiently and not subject to any sort of restriction. one of the failures within all of that, I mean, in the middle of COVID, what the central bank developed was economic business support. Yeah, it modeled itself off of what the Fed did through these participation agreements. So we created a special purpose vehicle. We allocated $50 million from the central bank and also from government. And that was engineered to sort of program which we developed to support businesses who were particularly hard hit because of the pandemic. And those are largely in the tourism and agricultural sector. And we created this special purpose vehicle and modeled it after a similar program that the Fed did, where we put $50 million in the special purpose vehicle. And it was supposed to really focus on those medium, small enterprises, MSMEs, that were particularly hit by COVID. And these were largely in the agricultural and tourism sectors. But the take-up wasn't there. We didn't market it well. The communication wasn't strong enough behind it. And if most financial lending institutions during COVID had hunkered down, really. They did not want to lend because they already saw that asset quality was reducing on their balance sheets. A lot of zombie loans came out at the back end. So a lot of dead loans came out on the back end. So we wanted to make sure that we were tempted to give some of these businesses a fighting chance during COVID, but the take-up was very low. So it's one of the things which I sort of blemish on my short tenure as the governor, but there are always lessons to be learned, and one of the things which I we will certainly build on the future.
Certainly, I think what you said ties in well with Barbados' experience in the sense that there's a very important element of homegrown component in any event how countries design their adjustment programs. And it's just a question of how it's supported. But I want to turn to Guyana, where things are so much more interesting now. Guyana is now, I understand, the fastest growing economy in the world because of the oil discoveries. And so I know that being in the position, Governor Ganga, of the central bank, you're definitely impacted. Could you help us to understand how the central bank is preparing itself to support Guyana and the government in this transformation?
Well, thank you, Governor. It's a very important question, given that many people out there believe that, we are not well prepared, but we are more than well prepared to handle what is coming in with respect to our new oil find and the flows. The central bank role has expanded, obviously, once again. Our mandate continues to expand, and this has expanded much more, so it is now more amplified. Guyana, more specifically the central bank, is playing a very fundamental role in that we have an agreement with respect to the National Resource Fund Board, and that we have an operational agreement. So the central bank is involved in terms of ensuring that it is not the present, but the future generation also are going to be benefiting from the funds that are flowing into the national fund. This sovereign fund, obviously, have proper legislation which has come about through international best practices, like those of Norway and elsewhere. So we have very good legislation governing how the fund is supposed to be managed. With the operational agreement with the central bank, we're not only looking at the deposits when they're coming in, but to ensure that the deposits that are coming in are fully accounted for, or wherever and however it is coming in. So there has to be some backward linkage with respect to those flows. So the central bank is very much involved in the governance aspect of that, where there is transparency and there is accountability, because on our website, we will put all of those up there. And this will all be disseminated to the entire populace. So what comes in is being disseminated in terms of information. In terms of what goes out, in terms of investment and other aspect of the fund, those are also being mandated through legislation in terms of the various portions that can be placed in equity, debt, etc. The bottom line is that the central bank ensures that these are placed in very, very safe assets and institutions. So we have been part of that. We ensure that the transparency is there with respect to how the funds and where they are placed. The transparency is there what could be our earnings. That is given out every quarterly in terms of the statement that are published. We ensure that the populace is very much involved in what comes out, for example, to support government budget. But there is a monetary aspect to it, in that we have to ensure is that the funds doesn't create a problem from the perspective of inflation through the exchange rate. So we are very much cognizant of the debt disease and what has to be done. And from that perspective, we find that the government looks at this fund as if it's a windfall. And the funds are being used to diversify the economy to ensure that it is not dependent only on the fund, because we know it goes with respect to oil prices. So there is a cycle. So we all know that given that cycle, you have to ensure that you have the necessary, I would say, cushion, whenever it might arise. So all of that is being taken into consideration from the central bank in its operational agreement with respect to the management of the fund. So central bank role, as I said, has been amplified. The central bank, given its image as an independent institution, as one way you can depend on for confidence, that is also being taken into consideration whenever we are able to operationalize how we do our business to ensure that there is good governance, there is transparency, and there is accountability.
So what kind of changes are you seeing or you expect in Guyana's financial center?
Well, we've seen quite a lot of financial inflows. Everyone is interested in a piece of whatever Guyana has to offer, because obviously there is this growing picture of a very successful economy that is going to be sustained in the near future, given the policies that are adopted, not only with respect to the industrialized policy from the fiscal perspective, but also from the perspective of a monetary policy or exchange rate policy, which we are ensuring is that we are not really poisoned with oil financing, and that we are able to withstand whatever comes after, and to build a more diversified economy that will not only provide for the Guyanese, but we are also looking at regional development and how we can also provide for our welfare, which can be transmitted through the region and elsewhere globally.
Thank you. So before we bring our conversation to a close, I want to talk very quickly about innovation and consumer protection issues. Then we can have a lighthearted conversation on the games. But on this subject of innovation and consumer protection, right now in the Caribbean, we have about 3 central banks. We have 3 central banks who are working with digital currencies, and part of the rationale given is to address financial inclusion issues and also to address improvements in payment systems. And I know that approach isn't quite as expressed yet in either Belize or Barbados. I'm just curious, starting with you, Governor Michaels, in terms of what is the approach that you're taking insofar as the financial inclusion issues concerned and payments?
So I firmly believe that there are building blocks, that there are steps that must be taken. So we had, in the past 2 years, 3 digital wallets launched. The transactions among the 3 or within each one of these wallets were well below what was projected by each one of these private providers. They have incurred significant losses. One has closed down the wallet entirely. The other is one of the larger banks in Belize. It would appear, and I'm saying this cautiously that they're recovering for those losses from other things. But what's driving that? Why is it the public of taking arsenal base recurring payments? And looking at the data, the literacy is huge. Economies of scale is also part of it. Socioeconomic factors. All of these things are wrapped up in this very complex answer or solution. What the central bank is doing now is attacking the literacy part. We're rolling out several campaigns. We're forming a National Financial Inclusion Council, which is co-chaired by the Office of the Prime Minister. And then there'll be targeted initiatives to move with that. Of course, you got to look at communication. You got to look at these other things in remote areas, rural areas to help with that. But on top of that, the central bank has received the final draft of the Financial Consumer Protection Bill. So on top of the literacy campaign, we're also looking at the legislative side. Financial Consumer Protection Bill, the final draft was shared with the central bank. And so by the end of the year, we should have that in place to address some of the other issues on transparency, etc. And I mentioned earlier, of course, that we passed our National Payments Legislation Act, and we want to create that enabling environment with the proper governance structure framework around it to mitigate some of these risks that will be present. AML, CFT, settlement risks, all that sort of thing is involved when you adopt some of these technology. The data showed, however, that we're not ready for central bank digital currency as yet. But it's something that I certainly see in the next 2 to 3 years that we will get there. And the central bank will have to earnestly move towards that. But these are things which I think have to be part of our central bank building blocks and strategy to embrace innovation and digital technology. We don't want to drive it, just want to make sure that the environment exists. And the World Bank will be helping us later this year to continue to layer on top of our automated payment settlement system, the faster payments network. Again, this is supposed to help to bring more people in financial space.
Well, I think what we're also understanding is that some of the support for central bank digital currency also has to come from the development of the remainder of the payment system. So that's also helping to shift the strategic approach we're taking in Bahamas. We want to talk just very briefly, Governor Greenwich, what do the financial inclusion payments issues look like from the Barbados perspective?
So, really what Governor Michael said. What is it that we want from the financial system? Why do we focus on the financial system? It's that role of financial intermediation, right? Which is transferring savings into investment, etc. And why do I want that? To support economic growth in our region, so we get inclusive and sustainable growth. Financial intermediation, we come back 3 layers. Financial inclusion, how much your population and how banking service. Financial debt, the issuers have options to be able, even if you're banking, what are your options? That's the thing. And then financial literacy, so you know what's going. In case of Barbados, our financial institution is relatively, because of small population, most of the population have bank with their banking. My big concern, largest concern, financial debt and financial literacy. Financial debt in terms of first issuers being able to use digital payments, e-wallets, value chains, etc. That's my concern. And now to achieve that, we need a healthy payment system. Right now, our payment system has been a bit archaic, in my view, because as Kareem pointed out, each bank have been doing their own thing, the payment system is not necessarily decentralized but it's costly. And so that when you say payment exchange, my vision for this will be a centralized payment system. And I believe this is real centralized in a region different from the rest of the region. We probably have to step up on one payment system in order to reduce the cost of the banks and let them target us. A payment system which will include some sort of a clearance, maybe ACH or something, and IP as a payment system, as a digital payment system. Top of that, you say World Bank is happening with it. It's a faster payment system. Is that payment that will allow us the platform to have, if we want digital currency, I agree with Mike, I'm not going to push that right now, but they have to have the space for it. Yeah. Digital payment system on board. Persons who want a digital wallets, a faster payment system platform, whether it's national payment system. So my focus now, my vision, next, I've meaning this with my staff, the next year or so, when I come back from Mars, I always have a Mars vision, please stay safe. The people, I don't get into the weeds. When I come back from Mars, I want to see an efficient payment system, probably owned by central bank, where the banks and financial issues of credit unions, everybody can plug into, reducing their costs as a sort of a clearance system in it, and it has a IP instant payment system about it. That would be my vision, and that's where we're moving. What I want to say then is that I think something I want to discuss with governments is that we have varying experience around the region, and we're at different stages of our payment system. I hear Michael saying that he's getting because it's staying cheap. Shit. It's not. I hear Michael say he's getting so half from World Bank. I was it. Yes. I need some of that system. Sorry, but it's under the rest. So
the World Bank is active. There's also support from the IMF.
That's where the brain drill. We know how to negotiate, right? Sure. The point is, I want us to put on the table, next level is meeting. Are you going to, if you have time here, join the games? A discussion among all the governments here. How can we collaborate more in terms of this payment system? I know I can learn a lot from you guys are ahead of us in terms of your payment system, where you want to go. Which one of the leaders in the region is Governor Don Bush from Curacao. Yeah, he's doing amazing things over there. I think sometimes we have a tendency to look too far, right? While our neighbors around us has much more to have each other. So I would like to put on the next government meeting table, and I'm sorry to put you on the spot in front of the camera. I'm not putting yourself. I am the chair in next government. I'm the chair for next year. So yeah, you want it? It's fine. Yes. Of course, I need my end. Yeah. We will put on the table a discussion on the payment system. How can we collaborate and use the resources we've got ourselves? Maybe I can borrow for Governor Roy, but must partner with some of his expertise in developing the system, and we can do something. I think we need a stronger regional, led by the government's approach, so we learn from each other. And then when we can collectively harness resources and move forward.
No, I think this is a very good lead-in to the last question I want to ask in this stage to Governor Ganga, because it speaks to us understanding where the central bank, from a Caribbean perspective, want to be situated within the financial space, whether it's consumer protection, which we've seen very expressive approach in Belize and Barbados, or insofar as innovation like concern. But there is very genuine, public, concerns about how easy it is to do banking in our region, not just in the Bahamas. And so the question is, how should we, Governor Ganga, see the central banks or view the central bank as signing in terms of impacting the ends of doing business for the financial sector this way?
Okay. Well, as you know, there are challenges from the perspective of AML and CFT. So anti-money laundering legislation do have some constraints. But at the same time, we have to make it easier. That is, we have to have certain scales of transaction that can be easily facilitated. And here is where we have to be very, very careful that we have the necessary legislation. and regulation governing how we approach our payment system. Now, you can't just adopt something because it is happening elsewhere. You have to adopt it from the perspective of ensuring that it can provide for efficiency, it can provide for safety, and at the same time, it can reduce that risk because we can all be blacklisted if it is something that is true. Having said that, I think you are trying to get us to discuss an issue which is delicate, and that is to have a regional payment system. Is that will facilitate more easily flow, ensures that our hard currencies more efficiently be managed, and therefore can provide for more in terms of growth and development for the entire well-being of the region. And as you know, we are talking to some external sources and facilitators to push us in that direction. Thank you.
So let's move closer to the end and talk very quickly about the interregional central bank games. We were trying to have these games, I think, since 2021, and they were put off owing to COVID. And it's a very competitive environment. Jamaica, Trinidad, for example, tend to be very high in terms of the winning columns. Barbados, equally. Yeah, that's very good. But I wanted to know, what can you do to give the smaller countries more of a fighting chance? Well, John, I mean, here is where the problem is. Central bank games really were to give others who didn't have an opportunity to meet their regional colleagues. Wonderful. And what has been happening over time is that it has become more and more competitive with respect to moving away from those who are not athletic or competitive in a field of sport to have an advantage or to get an opportunity to meet with their central bank colleagues. And that is why at the last governors meeting, and for this year games, I have indicated that we need at least 2 games to be for fun. Something like bag and race, lime and spoon, needle and thread, you name it. Something that doesn't require that much of the athleticness that is needed for this kind of competition. Hey, we ain't going for the Olympics here. We're going to build friendship. And it is important for us to have more fun games and to get more of these people who can come to the games, to come to the games and to meet their colleagues and to build that friendship, to build that camaraderie, which is what the games are basic or primary purpose. But over time, many governors have come in and allowed this competitiveness. I have said it very passionately. I'm not for that. Not that Ghana wouldn't be able to win this game. But at the same time, we need to get away from this, I would say, competitiveness in terms of rivalry. Rivalry is good for our development. I'm not saying this against. We can have the same rivalry in fun games. Absolutely. Right? But you need that kind of patterning in terms of what we have currently to address this issue by having more fun games and more of other things that will bring us closer, so that we can share these games are to share our experience with respect to international best practices. Mm-hmm. As you know, of late, governors have been meeting more in terms of as a grouping, and we were able to share more of our experience. We were all able to share not only what our experience has been, but what we have adopted. And so it makes it easy, so we don't have to go back to reinvent the wheel. Yes. Governor, out to you. Yeah. Governor Michael, any thoughts?
Governor Gamba took it away. Let's just be more creative with some other games. And that's it. For me, I was president in 1987 when we started games after many years without it. How far it is, it worked. There are no. As Governor Ganga, I was saying that I was president back in 1987 when we started games after a decade or more. And they started in Barbados. And as Governor Ganga indicated, the focus of the games really is to know who is the person in the middle central bank when you make a call, who you're talking to, understand and build relationships, and where we compete in terms of athleticism and sports. That wasn't the focus. The focus is to build relationships and networks and friends. I always joke. I remember when Bellis came back in 1997, they came with 7 persons, and they completed every single game. I really did well. That was a spirit in the games. For me, I told my Central Bank team, by the way, very nice. I told my Central Bank team, which is whether we have goal or silver really doesn't matter for me so much. Although they must get it. Like we think about if they come away with a new frame and someone they know, then we have won. And I think in that regard, we are all winners from these games. I think we, and with Gobain and with Michael, that we need to think of a way. We don't want to eliminate the competitive things, but we want to remember what we're here for and the focus of the games, which is to get to know each other, spend some time like a retreat and build friendships and cheer for each other and come out of that ideas, etc. So while we intend to bring this year, but that's not the focus. And I think we have governments like we will go away, find ways, creative ways, whether it's, as you say, maybe a government managers versus staff at the regional level games, or whether it is a game that makes a man, such a bank, or the banks just trade with their pocket and pick game, you know what I mean? So on my team, on the team, we have that whether it's from Belize and Bahamas, say a big regional game or whatever, while maintaining some of the core games and stuff like that.
And I must say that what we do is not something that is very common internationally. I was able to document so far that a group of the Asian central banks and monetary authorities, maybe 4 or 5 and 10, they convene and they have games from time to time. I'm still searching to see whether there are other blocks. And I think that is very important to appreciate it, what we're doing in the region. The one area where I think we still have some work to do is in getting the proper balance. Probably there's a rule that says that the team should try to have at least, I think, maybe 25 or 30-something% female. And I don't know what the male-female ratio is like in your central banks, but it is likely that we have a higher percentage.
Same.
So one of the things that I do think we're going to have to address, and that might speak to your concern, Laganja, is getting that balance, because it will also accelerate how we think about how the game should look to be from the competitive side. So I certainly do hope we accelerate that process by the time of the next game.
Which will be in Barbados.
Very good. But I want to wish you certainly the best of luck for the games. Most important, I think we should have fun and we should establish those collegiate bonds that are so very important to these games. Would help. Having said that, I think it's a very fitting note to end this Harbourside discussion. It's a bit noisy. Sometimes you can't complain about the noise because the noise is an indication of all the other economic activities going on. So always on the upside.
Yeah.
But I want to thank you all very much, governors. And I also want to thank those who joined in to watch these Harbourside discussions. To let you know that in our next session, we are going to be sitting with the Bahamian financial sector regulators to discuss some very interesting policy and other matters. And so, as always, if you have questions and comments for us to ask of our panelists, please send us an email to harboursidechats@centralbankbahamas.com, and we'll be sure to see how we can get those questions in. Remember, as always, too, you can view these sessions on the Central Bank's social media channel as well. We're starting a partnership with Guardian Radio so that we can hear the audio conversations. And we will be broadcasting these in edited fashion on ZS TV. Thank you so much for joining us, and I hope that we are able to have you with us for other sessions. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Rich. Thank you. What's that? It's a pleasure.
I must say it, the last time was here. I don't recall a single horn. If you have questions that you would like to see me raise with my guest panelists, please send an email to harboursidechat at centralbankbahamas.com. Just remember, episodes of this series can be